I believe that 80% of glasses prescriptions that eye doctors give are too strong because the eye doctor is asking you the question, which is clearer, A or B, 1 or 2, looking through little holes in a dark room, right? And you get the glasses and you come back. And guess what happens when you say, oh, I got these glasses, but they don't feel right. That's your nervous system. And the doctor says, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it, and you'll get used to the 50 pounds of rice on your back. And then your prescription gets worse and worse and worse every year.
I'm Michael Max, and this is Geological. I hear this from patients when they're fumbling with their phone to turn off the ringer or missed a swipe when trying to electronically pay for a session. In their brief moment of frustration, they say, "This thing never works when you want it to." For some reason, I find myself intervening and pointing out that that's not true. That because it's doing its job 99.999% of the time, it's hard to appreciate how ridiculously reliable it is. Just like we don't notice the miracle of a big box of chill food in our kitchen, or that the lights are on, or that you turn a tap and there's drinkable water. I'm not dismissing the problems that arise. Of course they do, and it's a good idea to solve them. But it's also important to note that you woke up this morning, that your digestion is functioning, your balance is good enough to amble around, cognitive capacity, good enough to take you through the day and make it interesting too. It's almost effortless to notice what's wrong. I've heard it said we're evolutionarily predisposed to notice troubles or danger. I'd buy that too, but noticing what's working well, being able to attend to what's in place without problems, the capacity to appreciate orderly unfolding, the miracles so easily taken for granted, that's much harder. The life you're living today would have been unimaginable 100 years ago in terms of convenience, access to cheap energy, communication technologies, transportation, medical technologies, the list goes on. Sure, we complain about modern healthcare, but at the same time, longevity is at an all-time high. We complain about the computer in our hand as never working when we wanted to, but fail to notice it works so well, it might as well be a part of your autonomic nervous system. Right now, I'm drinking coffee from Africa, living in a well-built house that's older than I am, driving a car that's more electronic than mechanical, and you're hearing my voice through a system that most of us don't understand, and it's so reliable, you probably forgot to say thank you when you touch a button and your phone spills out some magic. Gratitude is hard. It's difficult to see what is invisibly working well, like your last exhale, unnoticed until you put your attention on it. I'm not suggesting that troubles be ignored. In fact, a toothsome trouble can make for a good day's work. Solve other people's problems, and you can make a fine livelihood as well. Sometimes I think there should be a 65th hexagram to the I Ching. It would have no drawn lines. It would be titled, Appreciating the Invisible. Seeing troubles or perceiving opportunities, noticing what's wrong, or being able to focus on what's right, it requires an attention that is both limber and steady, along with a capacity to notice the space between perceiving and feeling, to recognize in many ways the world is not as we see it, but instead we perceive it as we are. In this conversation with Marc Grossman, we discuss the difference between vision and seeing, how our emotional experience and the stories we tell ourselves about life have an influence on what and how we see, how the mechanics of the eye as practiced in modern ophthalmology, it leaves out how physiology and emotion exert influences which directly affect the workings of the eye. Marc ties together Chinese medicine with biomechanics and brings his own experience with vision and how it's way more dynamic and changeable than we usually think. We'll get into it right after this. Geological Conversations come to you through the generous support of our sponsors and members. You have clinic challenges? Our sponsors have solutions. Blue Poppy has a special on their Great Nature Classics line this month. Mayway focuses this month on stress, anxiety, and sleep issues. Are you licensed in California and want to get the best insurance reimbursements? AcuCare can help. Later in the show, you'll hear about how Jane's suite of clinic management tools makes office work a breeze, and a heartfelt holiday message from everybody at Golden Flower Chinese Herbs. Be sure to visit the sponsors page on the Geological website to take advantage of all the special offers our terrific sponsors have for listeners of the podcast. Running a clinic means always having the formulas that you rely on. And this season, Blue Poppy is making it easier than ever to stay stocked. From now through the end of the year, enjoy 15% off the entire Great Nature Classics line. These trusted, time-honored herbal formulas are practitioner essentials, and now's the perfect moment to replenish your shelves before the New Year rush begins. Whether you're refreshing your dispensary or simply planning ahead, this limited-time savings makes it easy to stock up with confidence. And for patients traveling this holiday season, Blue Poppy's free-to-use dropship service makes it simple to get them the formulas that they need right to their door. And just like your clinic orders, dropship orders over $50 also qualify for free shipping under their standard shipping policy. Start the new year prepared. Save 15% on Great Nature Classics at bluepoppy.com.
Hi folks, I'm Yvonne Lau, president of Mayway Herbs. December is often a stressful month, so we're focusing on anxiety, sleep issues, and cognitive decline, areas where Chinese medicine can offer powerful but gentle solutions. In our newsletter and on our Chinese Medicine Matters podcast, we'll explore classical formulas and time-tested, clinically useful approaches for calming the spirit, supporting restful sleep, and nourishing mental clarity. Since 1969, Mayway Herbs has been a trusted source for high-quality herbal products. Our Plumflower brand line includes pills, tablets, extract granules, and organic herbs. And with educational resources, articles, and videos, we're here to help you provide the very best patient care. Visit us at mayway.com to learn more. We wish you a peaceful holiday season, and on behalf of everyone here at our family business, I'd like to offer our deep thanks, as always, for your support. Here's to balance, clarity, and well-being with the wisdom of real Chinese medicine.
Are you a California licensed acupuncturist who accepts insurance or wants to? Are you satisfied with your current reimbursements? You could be earning more. With the right support, joining top insurance networks such as Cigna is simple. AcuCare was started 30 years ago by acupuncturists for acupuncturists. AcuCare has already negotiated top reimbursement rates for acupuncturists. With AcuCare, you'll spend more time with patients and less time battling insurance paperwork. Email acucare@acucare.com and let them help you get in-network with Cigna and other well-paying companies. Get paid what you deserve. Email acucare@acucare.com and save $100 on your credentialing application fee. Use the code PROSPER. That discount code again, PROSPER. Contact acucare@acucare.com to get higher reimbursement rates and a credentialing company you can trust. Marc Grossman, welcome to Geological.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You were referred to me by a friend of mine, George Mandler. He said, you need to talk to this guy, Marc. Marc knows a thing or two about eyes. And I thought, I do have to talk to this cat because there's all kinds of stuff in Chinese medicine about treating eyes. But I got to tell you, brother, in my experience, a lot of it is pretty thin. I can't really say, like when people come in, they go, can you help my cataract? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know much about treating eyes with Chinese medicine is what I'm saying in any sort of helpful way. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to you. I'm always curious though, especially guys your age, roughly my age, like, how'd you get into Chinese medicine? It wasn't something you studied in high school, I suspect.
So first, it's great that George referred me. I've known George for over 30 years. He's a great guy. Before he even went into Chinese medicine, I knew him way back when he was doing computers and things like that. We're both members of a certain dance community. So we go way back with that. So I'll tell a little story. And one of the things about Chinese medicine and acupuncture is what I find is that you don't find it finds you. And what happens is people who go into Chinese medicine, I find this is part of their soul's journey. And it's like, why did they start studying this? So I'm going to tell a little bit how this became my soul's journey. And what I find when I meet different acupuncturists, it's something that calls to them in terms of studying it. So my story is this. I grew up in New York City, and I went to a math and science high school called Stuyvesant High School. And when we talk about eyes, the reason I'm saying Stuyvesant High School,
That's a famous high school.
yes, it was a very,
It's been around a while.
yeah, my father had gone there. It was rated one of the top academic high schools in the country. It was very competitive. I mean, Nobel Prize winners. I mean, it was ridiculously, when I went, it was the first year they had girls in. We had 6 girls. But that's a whole other story. But what happened was you had to be good in math and science. So, and it was free because it was a public high school in New York City. The reason I'm telling that story is because 90% of us were nearsighted at the high school. So when we start talking about eyes and we start talking about how function affects structure, we look to see how we use and abuse our eyes. But there I was in high school and then went to college. Now I am a 5'9". I was a pretty good basketball player in high school. And when I went to college, I made the team and I got my ankle taped. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And those moments in time where spirit tells you what you should be doing with your life, the question is, do we pay attention? So I'm a freshman getting my ankle taped, and I look up to the trainer and I say, "Hey, Al, what are you doing next year?" He goes, "I'm going to optometry school. You don't make a lot of money, you make enough money, but nobody dies on you." And I said, "Great. I don't want anybody dying on me." I didn't want to go to medical school because even if I did the best I couldn't emotionally deal with people dying on me. Eventually, I actually did hospice training to become a hospice volunteer.
Isn't it funny how that goes? The thing that you're like, I don't want to do this. I want to avoid this. It's almost like you're asking for it.
Correct. Oh, we're going to have a good talk today. So anyway, but he said, "But you have to be good in math and science." I said, "I can do that. I can do math and science." So I went to college and I studied. Eventually I got into optometry school, and I thought I was just going to do glasses, contact lenses, eye diseases, so and so. And then I got into vision therapy, which means how do we improve people's vision? How do we do eye exercises? How do we do rehabilitation for different eye issues? And I had 3 mentors there. All have passed: Arnie Sherman, Elliot Forrest, and Al Shankman. And I went to school and I said, okay, I'm going to do vision therapy, which was sort of like holistic eye care.
That was kind of a new thing back then. I mean,
No, it actually wasn't.
no.
It actually was more popular in the 80s and 70s than it is now. And because it was basically eye exercises. So I started my practice in vision therapy. And then I was always curious. And that's the major word, curiosity. Like Albert Einstein has said, the only thing I'm passionate about is my curiosity. And if you don't have curiosity, you're not looking at the why. Because when I was in optometry school, I was the kid in the back saying, "But why did they get a cataract in their right eye and not their left eye? And why did macular degeneration start in that eye and not that eye?" And you know what they said to me? "Why do you want to know why?"
Oh my
I said,
goodness. Really?
"Because I want to know why." They
Why
said
do
the
you want to know
treatment's gonna,
why?
yes, because the treatment's the same. We take out the lens, we put a new one in. We don't have to deal with why, no, why. When you get glasses, and I'm sorry this isn't video, but obviously I see you wear glasses. Now, when you get that prescription, why did you develop that prescription? The eye doctor doesn't ask you why. The eye doctor doesn't say, well, what have you been doing the last 6 months to 2 years before you got that prescription? We are really trained well to measure. We put you behind the big machine. We ask you which is better, one or two, A or B. And you go, oh my God, what if I get this wrong? What if I say it's one? Will my prescription of my glasses be different? And this goes into Chinese medicine, because when we go into Chinese medicine, the different constitutional types will have answer that question differently, and it'll affect their prescription of their glasses. Okay? So we're going. So think about this. So here we are. And thank you for being what I'm going to call okay with my adult ADD, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go off and then I'm going to come back. Okay. I don't use a script. So here I am.
Is there a script in Chinese medicine?
No. And that's what we're going to talk about too. Because in Chinese medicine, as Ted Kaptchuk says, and that's a whole story of spirit too, Ted Kaptchuk says, in Western medicine, we look at how the X cause Y. But in Chinese medicine, we look at what is the relationship between X and Y. And I believe that all disease, dis-ease in the body-mind has to do with relationships to the stars, to the sky, to our family, to our mountains, to the streams. I mean, what is the goal of every Chinese medicine treatment? Balance and harmony. So it's all about relationships. It's like you said, it's about the conversation. That's what we're having. So back to my story of soul's journey. So I went to optometry school. Didn't know anything about Chinese medicine. Thought I was going to have a little store doing glasses or contacts. But then I heard about vision therapy. And guess what? I was nearsighted. I was legally blind without glasses. I couldn't see the big E on the charts in third grade. Why did I become nearsighted? My dad, the accountant. And where did he go to school? He went to that Stuyvesant High School too. But why did I become nearsighted, which I'll go into? Because there was a physical, emotional, and spiritual aspect to it. So here I am, nearsighted, go to optometry school, but I'm interested in vision therapy. And then I started a vision therapy practice. But because I'm always curious about things, I decided to go for another background degree in a certification in learning disabilities, because I wanted to know how people learn the best. Studied NLP, studied language disorders. And yes, because I was the kid in the back of the room who cut school. Okay, I graduated high school.
You're
I
the
went to college
smart kid that was cutting school.
because I learned good on my own. I went to college at 16, okay? Graduated at 20, okay? But I couldn't pay attention in class. So what did I do? I went up to the library to study on my own. So anyway, back to the story. So here I was, I'm an optometrist, part of my soul's journey, but it's taking a different road. 15 years later. Now remember, acupuncture was not licensed in New York State yet. In fact, I was in the first class in which it got licensed in New York State. So I'm one of the first licensed acupuncturists in New York State. So, but here I was, 15 years later, back to Soul's Journey. I'm at a friend's house. There's a book in the middle of her living room, The Web That Has No Weaver. Oh, we got stories about that too. The book looked at me. I looked at the book. I said, holy mackerel, I got to go to acupuncture school now.
Just like that.
I had just finished paying off all my loans. I had a busy eye practice for 15 years. But I said, no, it's not licensed yet. I called my friend, Peter Dubitsky, who was head of clinic at Tri-State Institute of Chinese Medicine. And I said, hey, Peter, I just got this calling that I got to go to acupuncture school. What's going on? The school was in Connecticut at that time. He says, you know what, Mark? Next year, we're moving it to New York City because it's going to be licensed. So if you go to school now for the first year in Connecticut, and I lived upstate, and you do the next 2 to 3 years in New York City, you'll be a licensed acupuncturist. I said, oh, okay. What am I going to do? I already have a busy practice, and Tri-State It was 1 day a week and every weekend for 3 years. But I had the calling. Spirit told me. I went. I had no idea where I'm going. But what did Chinese medicine do for me? It told me about the why. We don't treat the eyes, we treat the person behind the eyes. Chinese medicine, 3 people come in with hypertension. This is at the crowd I'm talking to. I feel more bonded with the acupuncturist than I do the optometrists and the eye doctors, even though that's another story, which we're going to talk about. So I said, okay, I'm learning Chinese medicine. And all of a sudden, the 5 elements and this, it's like, oh my God, my head is spinning. This is totally different than the Western medicine that I learned. But then it came together.
How long did it take to come together? Because I know from my experience, in the beginning, it's very disorienting. How long did it take before you went, oh, I think I start to see?
About 6 months to the end of the first year. It was like I was still learning linearly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to open up my mind to say, forget this drug does this, these are the side effects, boom, boom, nearsightedness, farsightedness, stigmatism. I had to look into what is really going on. I read Ted's book. I read Between Heaven and Earth. I read my partner's book, Jason Elias, The 5 Elements of Self-Healing. And I said, oh my God, this speaks to me. These are my people. Gave me a different look, the conversation. I am looking at eyes completely different than I was as an optometrist. So now I have a Chinese medicine and yoga-based philosophy of vision. Because one of my mentors who I went to for my own eyes, and now I passed my driving test. I don't wear glasses, which we'll go into. I improved my vision from legally blind to 2025, 2030 without glasses. Now, so I have a yoga-based philosophy of vision. And what does yoga mean? Union. The 2 parts of ourselves, the yin and the yang. Aha. So the book looked at me, I looked at the book, and here's just another part of the karma. Last year, a patient came to see me. He's a financial advisor from New Jersey. My practice is in New York State. All my patients come to me by referral or karmically. This guy comes in, he's looking in my acupuncture room where I am now. He goes, oh, before I got into financial things, I used to be a book publisher. And one of the books I published was the book, The Web That Has No Weaver. And I said, you're probably responsible for me being an acupuncturist. And now he's my acupuncture patient. So again, karma, looking at the signs. So to be an optometrist, to be an acupuncturist was my path. Like I said, I didn't know where I was going, but then getting to eyes, like you said, I looked through all the books. I mean, here I got 20 books on Chinese medicine, the big ones. They talk about eyes, but they don't really talk about eyes. They talk about glaucoma. There's 6 different kinds of glaucoma. They talk about myopia. There's 10 different reasons for myopia. They talk about astigmatism. They don't really understand eyes in Chinese medicine because probably no holistic eye doctor was crazy enough to go to school to be an acupuncturist. So when I look at treating eye problems with Chinese medicine, there's microacupuncture from Denmark that I've studied that I'll do for macular degeneration. There's some protocols you can use for glaucoma or macular degeneration, but the understanding the curiosity of why did that person develop macular degeneration? Why did that person develop myopia? Why did they have more myopia in one eye versus the other? Oh, look at that, amblyopia. The pulses are different on each hand. Oh, interesting. Oh, they have a different relationship with their mother. Oh, than their father. Oh, when their 2 eyes don't work together. Interesting. Their families were divorced. Their parents were divorced, or they should have been divorced. And they have a much different relationship because you got the mother and the father eye, and you get these 2 eyes. And what are they telling you? the Shen, the pilot light. That's what we talk about. But they're living in the same house, but they don't necessarily work together. Why?
You are a curious fellow, aren't you? You're such a curious fellow. I mean, you were saying this earlier, but I hear it in your voice, right? It's in the spirit of this conversation. You're incredibly inquisitive.
Always. It's all about the inquiry. And that's what we lose in Western medicine.
I'm not saying we've lost it in Chinese medicine, but I want to come back to this thing about the books, because you can look in any of the books and there's these kinds of glaucoma and there's these kinds of macular degeneration. There's these, whatever. We've got the Chinese medicine patterns, but honestly, Mark, I've never figured out how to apply them in any kind of effective way. And I think I'm not alone. I think people listening to this, they're probably thinking, yeah, like me too. I hate to admit it, but me too. We like to think Chinese medicine can take care of so many situations. And I think it can take care of many situations. But how do we use it, especially when we're not quite sure how to use it?
It's part of the team. I tell every patient, I'm just one part of your team. And Chinese medicine could be part of your team. And the way that I do it is unique to the way I do it. And I'll explain how I do Chinese medicine differently. But the patterns, I mean, it's interesting that you say that because, is it a kidney yin deficiency? Is liver yang rising? Again, that gets me stuck in a box when I look at that. So when I'm working on someone, no, I changed that. Wrong. When I'm working with someone, because they're partners in my work, I'm not working on them, I'm working with them. I'm doing my needling or my Chinese medicine with them on certain points on the physical, emotional, and psycho-spiritual level. I have to create a balance and harmony on all different levels. All the meridians go to the eyes. All the meridians go through the heart. So we have to see, and most nearsightedness has to do with not feeling safe at that moment in time, that time in 6 months previous to when the myopia came into the system and affected the tissues. So a lot of times myopia, nearsightedness, which means you can see near but not far, has to deal with, it depends on the age of onset because the eye stuff's growing at 14. So somebody who develops nearsightedness at 20 is different than somebody who develops it at 8. A family moves. Let's go into my own story. I developed nearsightedness at 8 years old. So I was doing therapy once, and the therapist said to me, "How old are you? How old do you feel right now?" I said, I feel about 8. She goes, "Well, ask your mother what happened when you were 8. So I go to my mom, and my mom, I was firstborn. Also interesting. Firstborn, only child. These are all part of the inquiry. And my mom was only like 21 when she had me, very young. I had my first kid at 50.
This episode is brought to you by Jane, a practice management software and EMR I use to keep things running smoothly behind the scenes. When I first started looking for a practice management tool, I wanted something that felt like a teammate, not just more tech to figure out. That's why I switched to Jane. One of the things I love most about Jane? Their support team. You get unlimited help from real humans, even on Saturdays, by phone, email, or chat, all at no extra cost. It's easy to learn about Jane in your own time, too. Jane's guide is packed with helpful tips and updates, and it's always growing. And maybe best of all, Jane has a wonderful community of practitioners, so even if you're running a solo practice, you don't have to feel like you're doing it alone. I appreciate how Jane's tech support responds to my email inquiries and just the right amount of detail they provide in helping me to solve a problem. If you're curious about what Jane can do for your practice, head to jane.app/demo And if you're ready to get started, use the code CHEOLOGICAL for a 1-month grace period on your new Jane account. Yeah, but back in those days when your mom was having kids, that was pretty average.
Exactly. So at 8 years old, I developed nearsighted. So at 8 years old, I asked my mom what happened. Two things happened that helped create my nearsightedness. One, my mom had a nervous breakdown. So she was there physically, but she was absent emotionally after being there both ways. So emotional abandonment was a theme for me. Kidneys, emotional abandonment. I'm looking at prostate, all knees. I'm looking at the whole Chinese medicine philosophy. Also, this is a biggie in nearsightedness. We moved to a new environment, to a new neighborhood. All of a sudden, the world seemed bigger than me. So what did I do? I blurted out because I got overwhelmed by the outside of me. And then I studied a lot to try to get my mother's attention. And my dad being the accountant, and I wanted to get good grades. And I was always in a top class, but I always had to study because I was never at the top of the top class. I was always in the middle of the top class.
And that was a safe place to spend your time and attention.
Right. And there you go. Safety. So what points are important for me? Kidney 27, kidney 3s, kidney 15 and a half, kidney 7. So whenever I get treatment, I'm always, and I have my kidney 3s are always a little bit depressed there. So I'm always know that my constitutional, I'm kidney deficient. Okay. So safety, abandonment, all big issues from a psycho-emotional place for my nearsightedness to occur.
Which is I'm going to say, reasonable response in a way. The world's overwhelming. It's too much. Blot it out a bit so that you can manage it. It's a way of titrating down the information so that you're not
Correct.
overwhelmed. Navigating. Now you're getting into the wood element and the gallbladder.
Yep.
And you need some courage to deal with fear.
Yeah, no, that's why Chinese medicine's so beautiful. It's so poetic. It's, oh my God, I finally understand myself. I understand my finances because if you're more of an earth element, you shouldn't invest in risky stocks. I do my financial advising with people over like a 5-element financial, like how you see the world. It just can affect everything, relationships. I mean, oh my God, I have a friend, she's a wood woman. She's an optometrist, has 3 offices. She's constitutionally, we know we have all 5 elements inside of us. It's just a level of degree. I believe we're all multiple personalities. It's all a level of degree. And in multiple personalities, all the different personalities had different prescriptions. So back to the story. So she's a wood element optometrist. Her first marriage, or the marriage, she married a metal element.
Keep her in line.
She was doomed from the beginning. Metal wants to control wood, but wood's the controller. And all her friends said, I can't believe you married that guy. 10 years later, so marriage counseling or relationships counseling using Chinese medicine could also be very powerful. So I'm saying Chinese medicine is so powerful on so many different levels, but since I'm an optometrist, acupuncturist, we'll go back to eyes. So back to eyes for a second. So Lisa, I start all patients on 3 premises. Premise 1, if we believe, and science has shown, on the neuroplasticity of the brain, that the brain can change, and embryologically, physiologically, neurologically, the eye is brain tissue, then the eyes can change. So macular degeneration can improve, retinal things can improve, because it's basically brain tissue. And we have neuroplasticity of the eyes. If we know that science has shown about the gut-brain relationship, we know that, and that's why I wrote an 800-page book on nutrition and vision conditions. And of course, every chapter has an acupuncture part of it. If we know about the gut-brain relationship, then we know about the gut-eye relationship. And the NIH has done studies on the gut and the eye. So macular degeneration, which is basically an earth element issue, and we can go on all levels, body, mind, and spirit, because macular degeneration is basically, and not just me, but other ophthalmologists have said, starvation of the retina. It's not getting the proper nutrients. It's not using them efficiently. Stomach, spleen. So again, starvation of the retina. And then we start to look at it, but why they get the macular degeneration in the right eye, not the left eye, which I can tell some cases about that. Then the third premise between the gut-eye relationship and the neuroplasticity is what I just said. In different personalities, we have different prescriptions. So how we see the world, how we perceive the world, how we interact with the world will affect our vision. And glaucoma, that's the problem with Western medicine. We try to fit the diseases into a box. Glaucoma, H4O0.19. So we have to give the ICDA code for Medicare. But how I'm going to treat it is differently. And like you said, Chinese medicine sometimes tries to fit itself into that linear pattern for when it's the square peg in the round hole. It ain't working.
It's the kid in the back of the class who's innately curious, but the class isn't about curiosity.
Correct. And that was the thing when I was in acupuncture school, and I teach at the Pacific College of Acupuncture, and I taught at Tri-State for many years. And one of the tests was they gave you a pattern, they gave you a case, and they asked you what would be your treatment protocol for this patient based on the pulses, the tongue, et cetera, et cetera. So you write it up and you hand it in and they go, and what would be your treatment protocol after that? So I won't mention his name, but he ran the school and I said, okay, I'm going to answer. I wrote in my test, I'm going to answer it the way you want me to answer it. And now I'm going to answer it the way that I would really do it in real life. And I will give you the first treatment protocol based on what you're showing me. But then after that, how do I know? I don't know when I'm going to do the second treatment. The second treatment? What if they had a bad week?
Because we don't know who the patient is at that point.
Exactly. I don't treat the eye problem. I treat the person behind the eyes. Every treatment is going to be different. So I can't give you the second treatment based on their pattern until they walk in after I see them. But I will give you the answer you want because I want to pass the test. And I wrote this on and goes, all right, you're right. I'll give you an A. But I just want to see if people learn these patterns and what they could possibly do.
This touches on, and we've all had this experience, quite frequently new patients. You do a treatment and it's like, wow. I mean, life is different, right? They come back, they've had this amazing experience, and they'll look at you and they'll say, do it again. Whatever you did last time, do it again. And as a beginning practitioner and student and all, you try that because, well, that worked. Okay, good. We can do more of that. You find out very quickly the second treatment will not get them the same result because they're not the same person anymore. They're actually fundamentally different.
It's a different terrain.
It's a different terrain.
It's a different layer. You've uncovered another layer on your first treatment. Oh, thank goodness I'm talking to somebody who understands. This is so good. I feel so...
Well, I mean, we've all had that experience. Hey, doc, that was great. Whatever you did last time, do it again. Well, I'd love to do it again, but I need to figure out who I'm doing this with. Part of the fun of doing the work.
I don't know if it's correct, but that's what I believe too.
Yeah. So you got these 3 levels you're working with.
Especially in vision, because vision is our dominant sense modality. We took up more parts of all our senses in our brain through vision than all the other senses combined. So when you change their vision, when you change their prescription, when you change through nutrition, through herbal medicine, through acupuncture, the processing of the light energy that comes through their eyes, it will affect all the different meridians and they will change. And what I do with a lot of my patients is after the treatment, I say, go look in the mirror. So they go to the bathroom in the office and they look in the mirror. And I said, you are a different person. This is balance and harmony. So just stop paying attention. So when you go get a little bit off, you know that this is possible because your energy field and the way you look right now is completely different than it was 45 minutes ago.
Wow.
And I want you to take that in visually.
Okay, I'm going to put a mirror up in my sort of waiting checkout area. Women like to have that anyway because they often like to check their hair before they go out, I've noticed. But I like that idea because sometimes people come out of the treatment room and I look at them and it's like, oh, hello. They're so different. And inviting them in that moment, pause, just observe yourself. Just take a look and see who you are with the way you feel. I have this happen all the time, Mark, all the time. People will they'll tell me about how they feel. And something to the effect of, I haven't felt like this for a long time, or I don't know what you put in those needles because I'm feeling something. How long will this feeling last is often what they'll say. And what I say to them is, look, there's nothing on the needles. The only thing acupuncture can do, you can't put anything in a body with acupuncture, but you can call something out. And so what this is that you're experiencing, this is you. And I love the idea of giving them the opportunity to gaze upon themselves with that sense of who they are. That's a brilliant way to sort of set the treatment in a way that I think would be visually very powerful.
Yeah. And the thing about Chinese medicine that's beautiful is that I always use a team approach. It's like, as we know, there's so many different styles from 5-element. I mean, you might know Laurie Deshar. She does a lot of 5-element worthy work because she's written a few books. She has a book called 5 Spirits. I've taught with her. There's French acupuncture, Vietnamese. So it's a potpourri. It's like, where am I working with this person at this moment in time? Some people, I do the Denmark treatment of microacupuncture, just 10 needles in each hand and
Oh
each
my
foot,
God, that is,
and then around the
that's
eyes.
a brutal treatment.
No, it isn't.
No? Not it's
the
a
way
bunch
I
of
do it.
needles in the hand. I took a class in that once and it just seemed really hard for the patients to take on because all those needles in their hands.
No, I've been doing it. I teach with a colleague of mine, Andy Rosenfarb. He basically taught, I don't do it every day, but no, what I do is when I do microacupuncture on the hands, feet, and around the eyes, I use red ear needles, the little ones.
Really small, really thin.
Really small, very gentle. And I have a technique where I sound and I blow like, oh, to help disperse the energy. And it works out really good. So I'm using gentle needles, doing sounding when I put in the needles. But I'm not saying, but that's mostly for macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa patients. I'm also doing nutritional and herbal things with them. But that's for very specific eye diseases that I do that treatment with. But that sometimes I'm just treating somebody on the psycho emotional level. And I'm doing more of even though I'm not doing total 5-element style, I'm treating them more from a 5-element perspective. And sometimes I'm just doing trigger point to just work out those kinks, especially with astigmatism. There'll be tension in the upper traps to the SCM, to the sternocleidomastoid mastoid, up to the suboccipitals. So the trigger points, small intestine 13, all those points I have to release because that's where they're holding their visual tension.
Oh, man. You know what? This is so illuminating, no pun intended. But I've never had an astigmatism. And then the last time I went in, maybe 2 times ago, but recently when I went in for my eyes, and they're going, well, yeah, this problem that you're having, it's your astigmatism. And I go, what astigmatism? They go, well, your astigmatism is, I don't have a history of astigmatism. They go, you have an astigmatism. I'm like, but I've never had a history of one. Now I understand.
Oh, wait. It gets even better.
Okay, good.
So here's the kicker. You have astigmatism. What astigmatism is, like extra nearsightedness in one particular angle. Okay. So extra blur in one particular angle. So you go to the doctor and you say, well, what is astigmatism? And then we say, well, your eye's more shaped like a football. The light comes in your cornea and it gets bent into two different places. And you say, okay, then, and we have measurements. We can actually take a measurement of your cornea. Okay. Then you come back a year or two later and the astigmatism could be worse or gone or changes. And you go, what is astigmatism? And they go, well, your eye is shaped like a football. But you say, excuse me, did the shape of my cornea change that created the astigmatism according to your corneal measurements called pachymetry? And they go, no, pachymetry is the thickness of your cornea. Anyway, did the cornea change? No, that didn't change. Well, where'd my astigmatism come from? And they go, same line. Well, your eye is shaped like a football. So where did your astigmatism come from? Let's go to a study on symphony musicians during the violin season. And they tested them before and after the season and how they used and abused their eyes. They're looking at things on an angle. They're bending their neck. There's more tension. And as I said, on the upper traps SCM on one side more than the other. So their astigmatism came from their tendomuscular system and tension in their suboccipitals on a tendomuscular level. It also could have been caused by a dental issue or a jaw or TMJ more on one side. It also could be due to a tight psoas muscle. It also could be to the fact on an emotional level, there's a particular issue that they're not dealing with. If you correct, and not correct because prescriptions don't correct anything, if you give the astigmatism prescription to the person who didn't really have it before, what are you doing? You're locking that tension in.
Yes, here's a cane so you won't fall down instead of helping you strengthen your knees.
Instead of why did that person know if I never had astigmatism in my prescription, why do I have it now? We don't learn that inquiry in school, ophthalmology school. But it's a good question. And here's the other kicker. Really brutal. Now you get me. Now I don't swear, but like you said, I could swear. So the eye stops growing at 14 years old. All of a sudden you develop nearsightedness at 22 years old. You ask the doctor, why'd I develop it? They go, oh, the textbooks say genetic. It's not genetic. What do you think? Lightning struck you at 22 years old and made you nearsighted or created astigmatism? No, it's about how you use and abuse your eyes. If you carried 50 pounds of rice on your back, you would be tilted over. It would affect your tendomusculature. 90% of the kids in Stuyvesant, 90% of accountants are nearsighted, but less than 10% of juvenile delinquents are nearsighted. Why? Because we use our eyes up close all day. Over 80 to 90% of kids under 14 in China and Japan are now nearsighted. Why? Because they're starting them on digital devices much younger. We are NDD. We are nature deficit disorder. We need to go outside. That's the only thing that has shown to be good for nearsightedness, to be outside at least 2 hours a day.
We are NDT, nature deficit disorder. Amen, brother.
How we use our visual system, our dominant sense modality, will affect what happens to it. How we feed our system will affect how our eyes affect it. How we perceive world. There's NIH studies on stress and frustration, anger, like in Chinese medicine, liver, and glaucoma. Oh my goodness. Why do we, wood element? Liver yang rising. I think we have a prototype for somebody who's got high eye pressure. Why do we recommend relaxed wanderer, butyrum and peony combination? Because we need to chill those people out when we work on glaucoma. I'll add a little bilberry, chrysanthemum, lychee to it. Combine Western and Chinese herbs for that. But yeah, Certain types of glaucoma will totally fit into the wood element issues. But there's a whole subtype of glaucoma called normal tension glaucoma. The pressure isn't high, but their optic nerve is vulnerable. Ah, because these people, when I see those people, they're very empathic. They feel a lot and they take in a lot of information through that portal of the optic nerve. So I have to work with them on neuroprotection more so because glaucoma isn't about eye pressure, it's about how it affects the optic nerve. And not that this is stupid, but I'll say it. In Western medicine, all we have in our toolkit for glaucoma is medication or surgery to lower the eye pressure, whether you have normal tension glaucoma or your pressure is high. Why? Because, of course, according to thermodynamics, if the optic nerve is the wall, the more pressure hitting the wall, of course the wall is going to break down. So we reduce the probability of the optic nerve being affected by lowering the pressure. But wouldn't it make sense to do two things? One, lower the pressure either through medication, surgery, herbs, acupuncture, which has been shown to be help. But wouldn't it also make sense to build up the wall, to make the wall stronger, to make it more neuroprotective? Oh, maybe we should do some B vitamins, some lion's mane herbs that have been shown to be neuroprotective for the optic nerve. Maybe we should do some things for blood vessel integrity, for macular degeneration. Lots of good Chinese herbs for that. So I'm just saying, Chinese medicine on all levels, I'm a little biased, is totally part of the team approach for eye diseases because as eye doctors, we love our eye doctors. I love eye doctors. I love my ophthalmologists. I mean, I worked in a clinic with 10 doctors for a while. They're just part of your team. But the Chinese medicine practitioner could be part of that team. And my goal in life, one of my goals in life now, is to integrate the eye care profession and the Chinese medicine profession so that they could work together in helping people preserve their precious gift of sight. And that's where I'm going in the future. My goal is to create, and I'm in the process of doing this, a integrative medicine certification program that eye doctors can take, acupuncturists can take, naturopaths can take. I've taught it Bastir, I've taught it different places, that all these people can work together as a team approach because every one of them wants the best for the patient and knows that they're limited in their toolkit. And like when you look at an eye record, acupuncturists don't know how to read an OCT, optical coherence tomography, all our testing. You don't know how to interpret an eye exam. We have our own language. The eye doctor doesn't know how to read a Chinese medicine diagnosis. But I'm looking at the eye exam and then I'm working with acupuncturists and say, see, that is liver yang rising right there on that eye exam.
As the year 2025 comes to a close, Golden Flower Chinese Herbs wishes you, your family, and your patients a warm holiday season full of joy and restful recharging. They have high hopes for 2026 being better. Remember that this season calls for slowing down as our chi retreats to the interior. We will be wise to respect that natural cycle. Golden Flower is here for you in this holiday season with gratitude from everybody at Golden Flower Chinese Herbs. I mean, this makes sense. One of the phenomenal things I think we have about Chinese medicine is this perspective. We use it for diagnosis, but we also just use it for making sense of how does the world work. Is something deficient? Is it excess? Do they need more of something? Do they need less of something? Hearing you talk about normal pressure glaucoma, and I'm like, what the hell? I thought glaucoma was just about pressure, but it's no. If somebody is sensitive, then the normal pressure, that's going to be a problem. So, I get that. I work with plenty of people in other ways. That makes sense. Excess deficiency. It's such a simple rubric, but it's so powerful. If there's one thing that I wish I could help Western practitioners understand, it would be excess and deficiency. Because I think it would be helpful for their patients if they knew about that.
Totally.
I'm glad you hear you're doing this work.
I'm trying. I don't know if I'm doing it, but I'm trying.
Now, man, we could go on for hours, but I know you've got a clinic to get to. Tell me a little bit. Look, you used to be nearsighted, legally blind. You're not wearing glasses. So that's impressive. Can you share with us something that the listeners could take, maybe start to investigate on their own, maybe with helping their patients? But look, most of us are aging, wearing reading glasses or progressive lenses, all kinds of stuff. What are some things we could do to help ourselves? And maybe if we learn to help ourselves, now we know something that we can help others with.
Totally. And this is where, what I want to put out is two things. One is my website, naturalecare.com. That's over 300 pages of peer reviewed research. But also, if they email me directly, I will send them a PDF, and I'll send it to you after, of my Chinese acupressure points that they can teach their patients, different eye exercises. I have videos of all these different things that I give out to the people when I give workshops, because I give workshops at places like Omega Institute, Kripalu, Sivananda Yoga Center. So you definitely, the general thing is the acupressure is always good. But again, it goes to the why did that person develop nearsightedness? Back to my own is the fact that my dad was an accountant, so I had a genetic disposition. My mom had that nervous breakdown, so I went into a very shy state from 8 to 14 years old. Introversion when we develop nearsightedness. And one of the things, this is a little trick that I usually don't tell, but I'm going to tell your listeners. There was a study done by a psychologist named George Stratton. And what he did is he wanted to see about the neuroplasticity of the eye. So he put glasses on that made the whole world go upside down. And he wanted to see how quickly he got used to it. So he puts these on, and he's throwing up and he's tripping, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, after 3-4 hours, he gets used to it. Now, remember I said you'll get used to 50 pounds of rice on your back. And what happens when you go to the eye doctor or you get their astigmatism? And as you said before, you get the glasses because we're asking you which is better, one or two, A or B. And if you're a metal type, you'll say, oh, 1.5 is better. And the top of the E is a little thicker than the bottom of the E because metal types have a very high, what I call JND, just noticeable difference. They'll know when things are just a little bit off. While the water type, more constitutionally, they'll say, it's about the same. It's about the same as they're going through the prescription. But if the eye doctor will give you a prescription, you'll get it. And if you're a water type, you might get a prescription too strong. And I believe that 80% of glasses prescriptions that eye doctors give are too strong because the eye doctor is asking you the question, which is clearer, A or B, 1 or 2, looking through little holes in a dark room, right? And you get the glasses and you come back. And guess what happens when you say, oh, I got these glasses, but they don't feel right. That's your nervous system. And the doctor says, you'll get used to it. Yes, you'll get used to it and you'll get used to the 50 pounds of rice on your back. And then your prescription gets worse and worse and worse every year.
Can I share a funny story with you? At least it's funny to me at this moment. So the last time I was at the eye doctor, I remember they were doing the A, B, this, that, blah, blah. And one of the great things about being in my 60s is I try to please people less. I just don't care. I'm a little bit more self-aware, at least I like to think. And so the doctor is asking me, is this clear? Is this better? Is this better? Blah, 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 blah. And I go, you know what? A is clearer, but B is more comfortable.
Right.
Right? It's like, I think A is a little better, but B is comfortable. My chest is a little looser. There's no tension around my eyes. It's just more comfortable. It's not clearer, but it's more comfortable.
And that's the question the eye doctor should be given. So what I do with patients, I do muscle testing. So I do the O-ring test and I test a prescription. See, that one is clearer, but it's weak on muscle testing. This one's a little softer, but your nervous system and your meridians, and I'll check the different points while I'm doing the prescription. This one is better for you. This one is going to put your system more into balance.
This is where language gets so interesting to me. And I think there's multiple places where this probably plays out. One of them is with the eye doctor. Oh, clearer is better. We're looking for clearer. To some degree. Or like our patients, like, how have you been the past week? Good. Okay, what does good mean for you? How do you know you're better? I love it when they go, I'm better. It's like, great. How are you better? And how do you know you're better? How do you know that?
Well, what I say, and this is my line these days, everybody comes in and they go, well, how you doing? And I say, it all depends on context. I'm doing good there. My daughter's not doing too good. That area is a little, I said, it depends on context. I said, so when I,
Yeah, which aspect?
yeah, so when I asked them, I said, let's go through the context. Where are you doing better? Depends on context.
Yeah, that's really important. That's so important, Mark, because usually people are looking for one thing, right? There's that main complaint they came in with, but there's just also the idea that if you're better in one place, you're better everywhere. Well, I'm better, right? Well, okay, one thing could be better in one place, but that's just one piece of the critter.
Right.
Wow, that's really important. I love these conversations. Sometimes I'll get something like what we just talked about. It's so obvious to me. Like you can be really better in one place and maybe worse in something else. And that doesn't mean one's a success and one's a failure. It's just that we're very complex critters and it's connected. And what's the relationship between these things?
Right. Back to and what I tell people in life doesn't happen in black or white. It happens in the gray. And you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's where vision improves. Because if I give it to you too clear, you have nothing to work into. So I give people opposite prescriptions. Back to neuroplasticity. I give nearsighted people far-sighted glasses. I give far-sighted people nearsighted glasses. And then I give them a treatment, an acupuncture treatment with the opposite glasses on.
Oh, man. You are a little bit of a mad scientist, aren't you?
Yeah. But like you said, at 70, I mean, I've been doing this my whole life, but it's all about the curiosity and the experiment and throw it against the wall and see what works. And I always try it on myself first.
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking of something that one of my teachers said and still says. I hear him say it all the time, that patient's response is the treatment. Like whatever you do in service of helping somebody, their response is the treatment. So you putting far-sighted glasses on a nearsighted person, they're going to have a response to that stimulus. And what you're looking for is that response.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I'm copying that one. Yes. Totally.
It's fun work, isn't it?
It's being able to see and be aware of the response. I mean, that's what makes it an art. That's what paints the pastel, the picture. And what I said to somebody yesterday, my last treatment yesterday, and she's going through a lot of stuff. And I said, she goes, no, I found spleen 21 weak on her. Okay. The great enveloper. And I said, you're just working so hard to keep it all together. She goes, yeah, I just want to just give up. And I said to her, yeah, sometimes you just have to surrender so that you can take that pause to come back. But try to surrender without hopelessness. If you surrender, just surrender that you're just going on a pause, but not going, see if you can not sink into hopelessness.
I had a friend once say that there is a difference between giving in and giving up.
Ooh, yes. That's where language is powerful.
Can be, for sure. Well, Mark, look, I think there's plenty more that we could talk about, but I think we have to land this plane.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I got my person at 12:15. I'm doing a Zoom consult.
So I know you got to get ready for that. I appreciate all your time and all of this. I'm going to make sure that the resources that we talked about, they'll be up on the website. So folks that are listening to this and then just go to the Geological website, they can find that and then find access to you.
I don't know if I give you my email that they can contact me.
You know what? Don't give it to me now because I'm going to put it on the website. People just go to the Geological website. They got everything they need to be in touch with you.
Okay. Because I love working with acupuncturists all over. It's like if they have any, I don't charge people for it. I don't charge patients for it. I just say, go see an acupuncturist, have them contact me, and I will give them, based on my consultation with you, my recommendations for them to possibly integrate this for your eye condition with their treatment.
All right. Well, we've got thousands of people that listen to this, so your phone's going to blow up now.
That's all right. I don't answer the phone, so that's all right.
Okay. Fair enough.
I answer my emails. I get up early.
Mark, anything else you'd like to share before we say goodbye for the moment?
Yeah, I would say that since this is an audience of Chinese medicine practitioners, I feel deep gratitude that Chinese medicine exists. I feel deep gratitude to be in the community of Chinese medicine practitioners. And if they're listening to your kind of podcast, these, from what I gathered from you and how you work, is that they're all curious and they're into inquiry and they're not stuck in one way of looking at things. I look forward to being part of this inquiry. And now, because I just heard about you through George, I'm going to start listening to your podcasts if I can get on, and when you interview other people. And yeah, so thank you for the opportunity. It's good to meet fellow people who perceive things similarly, because we are outliers, many of us.
Yes, we are, and happy to be
And
so.
happy to be so.
All right, Mark, thanks. This has been great.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes.
A good conversation leaves you seeing things differently, not just out there, but inside ourselves. I'm reminded that our eyes are far more than just sense organs that collect light. They're storytellers. They reflect how we've adapted, the ways that we've coped, how we've blurred experience or sharpened our focus on portions of our world. As Mark kept reminding us, vision isn't just about clarity. It's about context. It's about who we are when we look and how we've learned to see. I appreciated how he kept returning to that one simple but powerful point. We don't treat the eyes. We treat the person behind the eyes. That's where Chinese medicine becomes wonderfully effective. It's not about fixing a prescription. It's about attending to the relationships between physiology, personality, emotion, and the environments that shape us. Our eyesight, like our health, it's a dialogue with our story. And the gift of this medicine and conversations like this is that they keep us seeing anew. They nudge us past protocol and into inquiry. They remind us that change is possible because the body holds memory and it also contains the capacity for transformation. So maybe more than anything, today was an invitation, not just to look more clearly, but to see more deeply.